Welcome.
We're back.
We're back with some questions and some opinions.
Yeah, we said question. You've got questions. We've got opinions.
Yeah, because do we have answers? No, but we have things to consider.
But also, opinions might also not be the right word.
Yeah, I don't know what the right word is.
We have some things to say.
Yeah, and the tarot has some things to say. That's what
It's true.
That's what we're using here.
And we're going to interpret with the tarot, and we're going to add some Enneagram vibes in here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna be fun. So let's go with Holly's. Let's go with Holly's question first. Type 5.
Okay.
It's a straightforward question. I'm struggling with moving from ideas to action. How can I do this more easily? Where's the card I pulled? Here it is. I pulled 4 of Pentacles. Which to me, okay. On first blush, you might be like, oh, that energy looks really like withholding. 4 of Pentacles can have kind of a bad reputation of like miserliness and whatnot. But at its core, I mean, it's really just about, 4s are about routine and practice. Pentacles are about our physical selves. So we can really look at this as like an establishing a physical practice, because that's where action is going to stem from, right? It's like your physical center. And so if you don't have a relationship with consistency and routine and discipline around your body, then it's going to be difficult to translate that into action in your life, right? So that's what I would say that 4 of Pentacles is talking about.
Yeah, and I think there's like, to some extent, with a 5 and moving into action, it's not ever going to come easy. Sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, there is something real about like the work that we have to engage in, like our capital W work, right, is always going to require more from us because it's not our pattern, right? Like it's not our most efficient way of doing things. So I think there is a lot to be said around building practices that keep you in the flow of that because, right, the body at rest tends to stay at rest. But if you can get yourself moving, you have a lot more space to stay moving.
Yes.
So I dig that.
Yeah.
4 of Pentacles. That's a good word.
Yeah. And we can also look at rest with all 4s as well. And so if you are having difficulty moving into action, like what is your energy level like? Like, are you depleted? I know 5s have that concern a lot. So just like making sure that you're like shored up, with enough rest in your life so that the idea of expending energy doesn't make you panic.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Okay. That was a good one. I like it. Okay. Here we have someone who thinks they're an Enneagram 9. Unsure. It's okay. Another pretty straightforward question here. I broke up with my partner of 10 years. What's next? Wow. We got that 8 energy coming in strong here. Like, geez, Abby.
No, it just like, I don't know. Like, what is next?
Well, I'll tell you what I pulled because it's really kind of funny. 5 of Cups.
Yeah, you're going to feel some sad feelings.
I mean, that's just the truth, right?
Yeah, 10 years is a long time.
It's so long. So like, kind of inherent in this question, what's next is like what's on the horizon that I can look forward to that's like past the grief of this. And this pull is really like 5 of Cups is like, well, no, we don't get to go there yet. Like, you get to be in this grief.
We're not ready for what's next.
Yes.
We're ready for what's here.
Yes. And I can't tell you, I've done lots of like readings for people who are like moving through breakups, like multiple, readings. And it takes a long time for that to like phase out. I don't really think that's the right word that I'm looking for, but like people will bring that to their readings over and over and over as they're going through grief. They're like, I want to know what's next. I want to know what's coming. Give me some hope, blah, blah, blah. And like, there's so much reorientation towards grief, like over and over and over. Like you don't get to bypass this. Like, yeah. So not a lot to say there other than just get uncomfortable.
I mean, I think you're not going to be ready for what's next until you go through the grieving process. Like the only way out is through. Yeah. And this is really what 5 of Cups is pointing at. It's like you're just going to have to feel through this. And truly, if you do that, if you stay with the feeling and you move through it, like what's next becomes obvious.
Yes. Yeah. It's hard when we want reassurance from the cards. Like, please tell me there's something better waiting for me on the other side. And you don't get that reassurance.
Yeah.
It's difficult, but it's also just, it's showing you the work that's in front of you. It's being real honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So here we have a 4-wing 5, Elizabeth. Elizabeth is feeling stifled at work teaching, longing for the creative again. Where should I turn my attention? How might I navigate this? Okay. I'm also a 4-wing 5. I relate to this. I always feel out of touch with my creative self continually. Okay. So first I pulled cards for what is your biggest obstacle towards like accessing your creativity. And I pulled the Wheel and 7 of Wands. I pulled them both reversed, so we can talk about that a little bit. When the Wheel is reversed, it's often about a sense of overwhelm, you know, like there's just too much. And 7 of Wands reversed can be like either we haven't like dedicated ourselves to what we want and like really just said, this is it. This is what I'm going for. I'm going to put all my energy and drive into this. So it can show that that hasn't quite happened yet, that commitment. But it can also be like you haven't established the proper boundaries, right? When you have so much else that wants your attention, you haven't said, no, this is what I'm doing. Yeah. Like you're still allowing other things to like
to come in and supersede what you want, what you say you want to do.
Exactly. Exactly. So how do you deal with these obstacles? How do you access this creative self? I pulled 9 of Wands reversed and 4 of Wands. First of all, it's nice to see all these wands in a reading about creativity is like very much in alignment with that energy. So 9 of Wands reversed is really about like being honest about your capacity. Like, are you like totally burned out? Like, then you're not going to have room to access your creativity. Like your creative self needs fuel. And if you're burning all of it at work, you know, or in life, you're not going to have any left. So 9 of Wands asks us to prioritize what we want, not allow our energy to get totally depleted, and be really honest about that. And 4 of Wands, it's nice to see that upright. And that's about like, again, establishing, like 4s are about containers. So establishing like a dedicated space, a routine, a practice, like this is it. So like blocking off parts of your schedule where you're like, this is where I do this, making it a habit. It's a big thing in 4 of Wands.
Yeah. I think that that's a really important piece. And I think there's like some undertones of I'm stifled at my job. And so I think there's some undertones here that maybe weren't explicit, but like I want to quit my job to do something else.
Like you hear that in that question?
Yeah, I hear that in that question.
Yeah.
And if that's there, I want to say that might not be the problem, right? Like, just to like be clear that like,
the job might not be the problem.
Yeah, that like you can like if you prioritize things, you can have what you want in the midst of where you are. And I think that not like 4s really can have a tendency to do the damsel in distress thing.
I totally
or like
do that. The
dramatic, like, oh, it needs to be a sweeping change of everything in order to get this one little piece of my life back. And I think you don't have to do that. Like you really can if you take time and intention to prioritize, you know, making a space, making a, you know, time, energy for this creative stuff. It will be there. For you. And I think the 9 of Wands reverse kind of is, to me, it reads as like pointing at like where maybe you might, like, let's say you put it on your calendar, right? You put it in the schedule. And then the schedule rolls around and you're like, oh, not tonight. I'm too tired or whatever. Like, no, don't do that.
Right.
That's an excuse. You have to be able to push through.
Yes, and that like in that 7 of Wands space, right?
Yeah.
Like you got to have the grit and the determination, the gumption to like.
Yeah. And I think 9 of Wands has a lot of that too. Like you're at the end and maybe you are legitimately tired, but like if you don't at least show up to the things that are going to fill you up, you're never going to feel any better than tired. And it's like, it doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
Especially the first few times. Like, maybe you start really small.
Yeah.
And that's great. That's a great way to build a practice. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like what you're looking for is available where you are.
Mm-hmm. That's a very Four of Wands vibe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That what you have is sufficient.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that every moment can be sacred. And it's good. I like that.
Good stuff.
Okay. Now we have someone who says they are considering moving back to Austin. As people in Austin, we are like, oh no.
Don't do it.
We would like to leave this place. But anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to try
all that aside.
Yes, we will. Our own feelings on Austin aside. I mean, I love it here. It's hot. And expensive. Okay. Here we go. I'm considering moving back to Austin. What can I expect after the move? Okay. Well, I did pull cards for that question and then I added another one. But what can I expect after the move? I pulled 8 of Pentacles, 3 of Pentacles. Okay.
You're going to have to work a lot.
I mean, these are cards of work.
Yeah.
I mean, that is true. And maybe you want to move here for work. In which case, this is great.
Yeah.
You know, because these are really good cards of work.
Yeah.
You know, these are not cards of feeling super depleted or, exhausted. These are cards of like commitment and dedication and finding like a team or a community of work that you vibe with. Yeah. So that's great.
But I will say, Austin you said moving back to Austin.
Right.
Austin in the past had this vibe of like, you could kind of like be perpetually getting your shit together. Like you could be the dude living in a basement, riding his skateboard to his job at Sprouts and be cool, right? Like that laid back Austin does not exist anymore.
Right.
Like that's not available. So like if that was part of your decision making, like this might be a sign of like, well, it's not going to be like it was, right? Like
it's going to require you to show up and work in a different way.
Yeah, you're going to have to be really motivated. Really, I mean, 8 of Pentacles says you're going to have to be working a lot, right? But like this 3 of Pentacles is really to me says it's going to come in all angles. Like it's not just going to be your work. It's going to be like your interpersonal work and work on your relationships and work. Like it's going to be a full, well-rounded kind of holistic work that you're going to have to do.
It's nice. So if you want to like really show up to becoming a human.
Yeah, it's here.
That's nice. And then I asked another question, since you didn't say, like, we're asking what can I expect after the move as if that is a done deal, but you're still considering, you say. So I asked the question, what should you prioritize as you make this decision? Which is a question that I ask a lot of the cards. Yeah. What should you prioritize as you're making this decision? And I pulled, 10 of Cups, and I pulled this twice because I wanted to double check. And I pulled the same card twice. So that's cool when that comes up. Yeah. 10 of Cups is about prioritizing your emotional fulfillment, So even though we've like talked so much about work, it's like, is this gonna make you happy? Yeah. And is it going to make, if you have a family, I think that's important to consider because 10 of Cups does so often depict a family. So like, is it in the best interest of everyone's emotional health and well-being? I think that's important. Yeah. Okay.
And if there is a family involved, I will say, like, the emotional well-being is a long-term project, not a short-term project.
True.
Like, if you've got kids don't ever want to move. Yeah. There's not anything you can do about that. But that doesn't mean that a move wouldn't be in their best interest in the long term. Just to throw that out there.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So now we have Theo, type 5.
Okay.
Trying to decide if I'm ready to go back to grad school. If not, what do I need to do to be ready? Okay. So I pulled a few cards.
Interesting. I like this space. I want to say some Enneagram things before we get into the cards.
Okay. And I did say that Theo's a type 5, right? Okay, good.
Because it's really clear that you want to go to grad school. Right? And that's something that 5s will downplay quite a bit.
Like downplay what they really want.
Yeah. And I don't know what the cards are going to say about it. I'm looking at some of them and I'm like, but man, fucking do it. Like, just do it.
Well, okay, the cards are also going to say that. Just heads up.
I love this.
Yeah. But, I flushed your question out a little bit. So first I just asked, what is Theo ready for? That seems like the place to start. And I pulled the Hierophant.
Oh, fuck.
Which is the card of institutional education.
Learning, yeah.
So.
Okay.
You are ready for this. But then I wanted to flesh this out a little bit because, there's a lot of apprehension when you undertake something so big.
Yeah.
So like a spread that I like to do when we're looking at, like a decision, a circumstance, a relationship, this is good for all of these situations, is what will this thing, whatever it is, insert thing here, what will it enhance in me and what will it diminish in me? I like those questions, and so I asked this about you in grad school. And I used 2 different decks because I wanted to flesh this reading out. So what will going to grad school enhance in Theo? Okay? 10 of Swords and the Magician. Don't be freaked out by 10 of Swords.
No.
I pulled Magician first. So that's like, grad school requires a lot of presence, a lot of mental energy, which this is Mercury. It's all about mental energy. It's about staying focused. Lots of writing, maybe.
Yeah.
There's a lot of writing that happens in Magician vibes. And then 10 of Swords, that looks really negative, but this is Sun in Gemini. That's the astrological correspondence. So I think that's really pointing back here to the Magician because Mercury rules Gemini. So these are intimately connected, these 2 cards. And 10 of Swords is, it's a lot of thinking, a lot of information.
But it's also like what allows you to move to something new.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
Right. And you are wanting to go to grad school, I'm assuming, to like level up on some level.
Yeah.
Right? And that's 10 of Swords really offers that, new ways of thinking, new ways of being, huge perspective shifts. Yeah. So I see this really positively, actually. What will it diminish in you? Don't get nervous about these because the first card I pulled was the Star and the second I pulled was 7 of Pentacles. So the initial impulse might be to see something like the Star, which is a really beautiful energy, and be like, oh no, this is going to diminish that in me. Like that feels scary. But really it's going to require a lot of energy for you. The Star is like an energy of stillness and slowness and having time and all of this. And that won't be available.
Yeah.
And 7 of Pentacles is very much the same in that it is a card of slowness and considering and...
which really, if you're a 5, you don't need to be doing that anymore.
You might want to be doing it.
Yeah, like a lot of your work may really be around, and this seems to be what the cards are saying. It seems pretty inherent in your question that it's time to take action. It's time to move. It's time to get going and stop putting things off.
Yeah. Yeah. So the Star being diminished, it's not a problem. That just means that work of healing, whatever it is that you've been engaged in as you lead up to this decision, it's done. It's over.
Yeah, that's nice. And
that's fine. Yeah, because you're going to move into Magician energy where it's a lot more active. Yeah. So I actually really liked this.
Yeah, that's great.
And this feels like a definite green light.
Yeah, for sure.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Hierophant could not have been more clear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, we blew through these really fast. I have more questions, but I didn't write them down.
Oh, that's okay. We'll stop and we'll do another one later. This is great.
Yeah. I figured we could do another one in a couple days here. These didn't take quite as long to get through as I thought, but hopefully it was helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. If you found any of this helpful, be sure to hit the like button.
Oh my God,
YouTube.
You're so good at this.
I know. Hit subscribe so that you can know when new episodes are up.
Yeah.
Check out oakmoontarot.com to book a reading with Danielle.
Yeah, it's New Year's. I still have some spots. I'm assuming this will be out before New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
I still have some year ahead slots open
Yeah.
for New Year's Eve if you're interested.
Yeah.
Okamoontarot.com.
Help you set some intentions, look towards what's coming up.
Yeah, I don't particularly love doing, I know a lot of people, maybe we've talked about this recently, a lot of people like to do year ahead spreads where it's like they pull a card for every month. Mm-hmm. I don't love that.
But you have done pull a card for every past month.
Yes, I like things that are a little bit more reflective. And then when we're looking ahead, I like things that are more like, what are my teachers? Mm-hmm. That kind of thing. I find looking ahead can be very anxiety producing. Some people love it.
That also might be your type.
It totally might be. It totally might be.
You are very past oriented.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. But I just really like to be like aware of the fact that like future looking cards can provoke that anxiety. Like especially if you don't have there's a couple of reasons. If you don't have a really deep relationship with the cards where they don't seem scary to you. Yeah. So you could see a card like the Tower or what have you in your future and not freak out. Yeah. So if you're not already grounded in that kind of practice, it can stimulate a lot of anxiety. But then if you just don't have faith in yourself, if you have a fundamental like feeling that you're not up to encountering difficult things, then it can be really hard to see.
Yeah. So if you're a 4, a 5, or a 9. You might struggle with that.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. I mean, that is like, you just like highlighted like the withdrawn stance issues.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, 6s have a little bit of that too, but it's different. It's a different vibe.
Yeah. It's just worth like being sensitive to that and like knowing yourself and, don't feel there can be a lot of pressure, I think, like when we see these kind of spreads and everyone's doing them, getting all excited to like, oh, I need to do that. I need to pull for my year ahead. I got to be prepared. And like, don't do it if you know it's going to like potentially like spiral you into anxiety.
Do it and hold it more loosely.
Yeah. Or there are ways to reframe all of these questions and make it approachable.
Or do it with a trained professional like Danielle and she can help you.
Right? Like I can hold space for other people a little bit better than I can for myself.
It's true. It's true.
Like I'm not going to be pulling for my year ahead. Not every month, that's for sure. Yeah. I don't think that that's something I'm going to do because I know my tendency.
She'll do it for you.
Yeah, maybe. Probably not.
Why not?
Because I do a different kind of New Year's spread than that.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just not really my vibe. Okay. Yeah. Okay. We really diverged here.
That's okay.
We'll be back shortly. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.